Hey, we're back. Oh ho ho! Greetings, Bodegazella. The red shape of it leaping up and down, swaying with every gust of wind. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Chapter 10! You may remember me from such previous chapters as Chapter 9, Chapter 8, and Chapter 7. I am audiobook editing, Bodegazella. And Chapter 7. Thank you for the bit. And let's not forget Title 11 Bankruptcy. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. One of those is good. Podcast. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Nightblade, Chapter 10. Nightblade, Chapter 10. Nightblade, Chapter 10. After they ate, Lauren tried to... Chapter 10. After they ate, Chapter 10. After they ate, Lauren tried to find a place to sleep, but Lauren tried to find a place to sleep, but it felt strange to lie in firelight surrounded by strange guards with long blades. After a time she rose and took herself beyond the line of wagons. Then her line of wagons. Then her head rested easily upon the ground, and then the next morning dawned. Wagons. Then her head rested easily upon the ground, and she soon fell asleep. The next morning and she soon fell asleep. The next morning dawned bright and early, and Lauren woke before most in the camp. She felt no surprise to see Gregor had risen earlier still. Most in the camp. She felt no surprise to see Gregor had risen earlier still, and as soon as she stood, his gaze snapped to her. She gave him a little wave. He did not so much as little wave. He did not so much as blink. The caravan seemed to take an eternity to get moving, and Lauren nearly screamed from impatience. But eventually the drivers mounted their seats and spurred the horses south. Lauren Lauren had grown somewhat bored with the countryside, so she spent her time inspecting the caravan instead. The two carriages led the way, followed by a dozen wagons of varying sizes. Oh, shoot. And he prays. Oh my God, do I pray? I have that song stuck in my head for some reason. Sizes. The two biggest wagons had 8 wheels each and were nearly as wide as the road. Lauren let her course run back and forth across the column, peering into the backs of the wagons. She wondered how many of them hid packages swaddled in brown cloth. What could be so valuable? Cloth. Swaddled in brown cloth. What could be so valuable that Damaris would hide it from the constables? Something outside the king's law, no doubt, but Lauren had no faintest idea of what that could be. Annis tried walking with her, but she soon tired. I do not know how. Annis tried walking with her, but she soon tired. I do not know how you do this for hours and hours, she said, cheeks puffing in and out with each breath. I can scarcely out with each breath. I can scarcely keep pace with the wagons. Breath. I can scarcely keep pace with the wagons. The drivers hardly touch their pace with the wagons. The drivers hardly touch their reins. The horses seem not touch their reins. The horses seem not to need it, said Annis. Soon said Annis. Soon she abandoned Lauren and retired to her carriage. After some hours, to her carriage. After some hours had passed, Damaris emerged and mounted a horse that Gregor brought. Damaris emerged and mounted a horse that Gregor brought to her. She rode beside that Gregor brought to her. She rode beside the caravan, sometimes spurring to a gallop and ranging ahead at the edge of eyesight, sometimes content to walk her mount beside the wagons. Wherever she went, Wherever she went, Gregor came close behind on his own steed. Lauren watched with interest. After some time, Damaris turned her horse towards Lauren. She reined in a few feet away. While Gregor sat just behind her, his eyes never leaving Lauren's face. "You seem quite interested in our horses," said Damaris. Lauren's face. Leaving Lauren's face. "You seem quite interested in our horses," said Damaris. Lauren flushed. "Where I come from, no one owns a steed for riding, but only plow horses and the like. I've seen riders only rarely, though I always dreamed of owning a horse of my own. Would you like to ride?" "Of owning a horse of my own. Would you like to ride?" said Damaris. For a moment, Lauren could not speak. I'm afraid I would only embarrass myself. I have never sat a saddle." "It is not so hard." I have never sat a saddle. I have never sat a saddle. "It is not so hard, and you wear the right clothing for it. You need not ride side saddle as I do." Damaris Damaris slid from the horse's back and drew its reins into one hand as she approached. You do not look. Lauren's heart raced as the horse neared. It stared at her with wide and gentle eyes like great pools of black water. "Come." pools of black water. "Come," said Damaris. "He is gentle, Damaris. "He is gentle, I promise. Give me your bow." Lauren "Give me your bow." Lauren unslung the bow from her back and handed it over, never taking her eyes from the horse. "Raise your foot." The horse. "Raise your foot." Lauren obeyed without thinking. Damaris seized her boot and placed it in the stirrup before moving Lauren's hand to the saddle horn. The stirrup before moving Lauren's hand to the saddle horn. Now, Lauren's hand to the saddle horn. "Now, step up. Imagine you are climbing a rock. The horse will remain as steady as that." Lauren "The horse will remain as steady as that." Lauren took a deep breath and pushed. She swung Lauren took a deep breath and pushed. She swung her leg up and over, and before she knew it, she had gained the saddle. She sat there for a moment, both hands wrapped around the pommel. Pommel? Am I doubting myself? She sat there for a moment, both hands wrapped around the pommel. She sat there for a moment. Nope, it is correct. Knew it, she had gained the saddle. She sat there for a moment, both hands wrapped around the pommel, too terrified to budge. Your other foot, said Damaris. Lauren looked down. Her right terrified to the pommel, too terrified to budge. Your other foot, said Damaris. Lauren looked down. Her right boot hung loose. Flushing, she placed it in the stirrup. Thank Flushing, she placed it in the stirrup. Thank you, she said in a small voice. Come now. She said in a small voice. Come now, I will walk with you. I will walk with you. Damaris tugged on the reins and walked forwards. Lauren walked forwards. Lauren did not anticipate the sudden motion and nearly pitched backwards, but somehow she kept her balance. The saddle bounced uncomfortably against her rear. She feared that if the horse increased its pace even a little, it would send her flying. And yet, she rode. She was sitting a horse for the first time in her life. You sit too high and... She was sitting a horse for the first time in her life. For the first time in her life. You sit too high and try too hard. For the first time in her life. You sit too high and try too hard for balance, said Damaris. Try too hard for balance, said Damaris. Bend your back somewhat to lower your weight, and cling tighter with your thighs. Do not fear to hold the horse's neck. It will not mind unless you tug too hard on the mane. I want to add a line here for the horse people, but I'm going to restrain myself. Ugh. Damaris pushed Lauren hard on the mane. The horse people, otherwise known as centaurs. It will not mind unless you tug too hard on the mane. Damaris pushed Lauren's leg to demonstrate and then hunched her own body lower to show her how to sit. Lauren tried it and felt the saddle's impacts lessen. Unbidden, a grin spread across her face. It is... A grin spread across her face. It is so gentle. I thought it would be harder. Well, you are only walking, after all. A smile had crept into Damaris's words. Travel at this speed grants little benefit other than freedom from your burdens. They walked that way for a while. Your burdens. They walked that way for a while, Gregor close to Lauren's right, Damaris walking to her left. With every passing moment she felt more comfortable with the rolling motion of the horse's back. But after a time she felt a soreness creeping up her legs, the muscles growing tense and knotted. Her bottom Her bottom felt bruised. I thank you. Her bottom felt bruised. I thank you greatly, my lady, said Lauren earnestly, but mayhap I shall walk again. Said Lauren earnestly, but mayhap I shall walk again. If I stay here too long, I fear I will lose the use of my legs. Damaris Damaris chuckled. You take to horseback easy. Damaris chuckled. You take to horseback easily, but you might be right. It is not... You might be right. It is not wise to overexert oneself on the first day, but before you dismount, you must try trotting. Gregor? The man... You must try trotting. Gregor? The man rode up, and Damaris passed him the reins over the horse's neck. He seized them in one hand. There's that microphone again. He seized them in one hand. The reins over the horse's neck. He seized them in one hand. Lauren's stomach did a somersault. Remember... Lauren's stomach did a somersault. Remember, balance yourself with the horse's neck. Damaris stepped away and gave the horse's haunch a gentle slap. The horse broke into a neck. Damaris stepped away and gave the horse's haunch. Stepped away. Damaris stepped away and gave the horse's haunch a gentle slap. Damaris stepped away and gave the horse's haunch a gentle slap. The horse broke into a trot, but to Lauren it seemed the earth a trot, but to Lauren... to Lauren... trot, but to Lauren... to a trot, but to Lauren it seemed... into a trot, but to Lauren it seemed the earth buckled underneath her. Buckled underneath her. The horse broke in... Oh, thank God. The horse broke... The horse broke into a trot, but to Lauren it seemed the earth buckled beneath her. She wrapped beneath her. She wrapped her legs around the horse's belly and bent over its back, gripping its coat as hard as she could with both hands. Somehow she stayed on, but the saddle horn slammed into her stomach until she cried out with the pain. She cried out with the pain. Gregor tugged the rein. Stomach until she cried out with the pain. Gregor tugged the reins and both horses came to a swift stop. Lauren shook for a moment, unable to move. Finally, Finally, she pulled her right foot from the stirrup and swung it over. At the At the last moment, her left boot caught in its stirrup, and she fell over backwards to the ground. She felt her face grow beet red. Damaris approached, holding out Lauren's bow. A fair effort. A fair effort for your first time. Do not be discouraged. No one learns to ride well in an hour, or even a day. Thank you again. Ride well in an hour, or even a day. Thank you again. Or even a day. Thank you again, my lady, said Lauren. You are too kind, but I think I will walk by the wagons now. Damaris Damaris smiled and remounted. Very well. If you are still with us tomorrow, we will try again. She and Gregor Tomorrow we will try again. She and Gregor rode off. Terrified as she might have been, riding a horse had been a lifelong dream come true. Even as she winced at her aching legs, she envied. Midday came, and the caravan. They moved so slowly that Lauren. She and Gregor rode off. Terrified as she might have been, If you are still with us tomorrow, we will try again. She and Gregor rode off. Very well. If you smiled and remounted. Very well. If you are still with us tomorrow, we will try again. Terrified as she might have been, riding a horse had been a lifelong dream come true. Even as she winced at her aching legs, she envied Damaris as the merchant cantered away. Midday came. Midday came, and the caravan halted for lunch. They moved so slowly that Lauren would have preferred. Came, and the caravan halted for lunch. They moved so slowly that Lauren would have preferred to eat on the road, but of course such was not her place to suggest. Annis disembarked from her carriage and came to eat with her again. Lauren did not enjoy the thought of hunting with her body so sore, and so she gratefully accepted Anis's offer of food. You looked so... Food. The horse, said it. You looked... you looked... Yeah, you looked so funny on the horse, sir. I work at the general goods market in town. You looked so funny on the horse, said Anis. I fared much worse than you on my... You looked so funny on the horse. I fared much worse than you on my first day.
But then I was much younger. I hope to do it again, said Lauren. I've always wanted a horse of my own. To roam the land as a wealthy thief, said Anis.
Offer of food. You looked so funny on the horse, said Anis. I fared much... Horse, said Anis. I fared much worse than you on my first day, but then I was much younger. I hope to do... I was much younger. I hope to do it again, said Lauren. I've always wanted a horse of my own. To roam the... I've always wanted a horse of my own. To roam the land as a wealthy thief, said Anis, a light growing in her eyes. Riding from town to town with a bag of gold on your back. It sounds glorious. Lauren... Sounds glorious. Lauren looked at Anis askance. I recall... Anis askance. I recall speaking no such words. Some might call that a foolish wish, and few would see glory in it. Oh, few would see glory. 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 Speaking no such words. Some might call that a foolish wish, and few would see glory in it. Oh, come now. And few would see glory in it. Oh, come now. Oh, come now, said Anis, leaning in close and dropping her voice. Oh my God, my mouth. What was wrong with my mouth? And he prays. Glory in it. Oh, come now, said Anis, leaning in close and dropping her voice to a murmur. Glory in it. Oh, come now, said Anis, leaning in close and dropping her voice to a murmur. You cannot... To a murmur. You cannot fool me. After all that talk of Menet last night? That is your wish, is it not? To become a great righter of wrongs? I could see the light in your... Lauren swallowed hard. Oh, Lordy Lord. To become a great righter of wrongs? I could see the light in your eyes when you spoke of it. Lauren I could see the light in your eyes when you spoke. She had been too free with her work of it. Lauren swallowed hard and focused on her food. Fool, she thought. On her food. Fool, she thought. Fool, she thought. On her food. Fool, she thought. She Fool, she thought. She had been too free with her work. Fool, she thought. She had been too free with her words, and Annis seemed less starry-eyed than... Oh, this microphone is killing me.
This microphone is killing me, and I...
She had been too free with her words, and Annis seemed less starry-eyed than Lauren had thought.
I must confess, I still believe. When I'm not with you, I lose my mind. Give me a sign. Hit me,
Food.
baby, one
Fool,
more time.
she thought. She had been too free with her words, and Annis seemed less starry-eyed than Lauren had thought. I desire starry-eyed than Lauren had thought. I desire no such thing. I think Menet used his no such thing. I think Menet used his skills honorably, but only an idiot would seek to win her fortune through thievery. Or speak so openly. Her fortune through thievery. Or speak so openly about it if she did, said Annis with a wink. The girl was not half so silly as she seemed, for all her prudishness. The girl was not half so silly as she seemed, for all her prudishness. You thought little before you spoke, and you should guard your tongue more closely. But I am not fooled by your... more closely, but I am not fooled by your naysaying now, and I may be able to help with your first conquest. Annis first conquest. Annis reached into a fold in her cloak and withdrew a small leather purse. She tossed it gently in her hand, and Lauren heard the clink of coin. What is that? The clink of coin. What is that? Hissed Lauren. She looked up, frantically scanning for Gregor or one of his guards, but she could not see him, nor did any guard give her a second glance. A purse. Give her a second glance. A purse. The first in a long fruit. the first in a long, fruitful career for the 9 lands' next great thief. She thrust it towards next great thief. She thrust it towards Lauren with...
I did not note the sarcasm. You didn't use the sarcasm tag. Is it because I'm just staring at the screen so intently?
Next great thief. She thrust it towards Lauren with outstretched hands. Lauren snatched the purse and threw it back. Did not see him, nor did any guard give her a second glance. Your tongue more closely, but I am not fooled by your naysaying now, and I may be able to help with your first conquest. Annis reached into a fold in her cloak and withdrew a small leather purse. She tossed it gently in her hand, and Lauren heard the clink of coin. "What is that?" hissed Lauren. She looked up, frantically scanning for Gregor or one of his guards, but she could not see him, nor did any guard give her a second glance. "A purse, the first in a long, fruitful career for the 9 lands' next great thief." She thrust it towards Lauren with outstretched hands. Lauren snatched the purse and threw...
Oh, that's just more from being tired today, Erica. Don't worry about me. I'm fine, and I'm very zen about editing the audiobook. I'm actually having quite some fun with it.
Hands. Lauren snatched the purse and threw it back. The bag slammed into Annis's chest, making her wince. "Are you mad? I am your her wince. "Are you mad? I am your mother's..." "Are you mad? I am your mother's guest. What would any honorable person think of me if I stole from her? And as for you, what daughter steals from her own mother?" Annis's nostrils flared. "And you took..." Nostrils flared. "And you took nothing from your parents when you ran away? And you took nothing..." Annis's nostrils flared. "And you took nothing from your parents when you ran away from home, did you?" Lauren balked. "Home, did you?" Lauren balked. "Did you?" Lauren balked, unable to think of a reply. "I thought as much." Unable to think of a reply.
Yes, Erica, correct.
"I thought as much," said Annis. "It is a fine thief who calls another thief dishonorable. This purse is a tiny thing, one from a chest of many. No one would notice it had gone, least of all Mother. How do you think you will make your way upon the road without even a penny in your pocket? Your mother is kind..." Even a penny in your pocket. Your mother is kind and generous to me, and to you as well. What reason could you have to do this?" "Because," said Annis, her eyes... "To do this." "Because," said Annis, her eyes flashing, "I wanted to come with you." Her eyes flashing. I wanted to come with you, but now I think I may not wish to travel beside one so stupid. Beside one so stupid. Beside one so stupid. One so stupid. The words might... One so stupid. The words... Oh my god. stupid. The words might have stung, but Lauren's mind leaped far away in an instant. She saw herself beneath the boughs of the birchwood, Zane standing before her. The birchwood, Zane standing before her. I want you to... Birchwood, Zane standing before her. I want you to bring me with you. That is what I feared, Zane had said. That is what I feared. For her. I want you to bring me with you. That is what I feared, Zane had said.
Thank you, timer.
That is what I feared, Zane had said. No, I will not. How could she have been so foolish?
I have to go use the restroom real quick. I am going to finish this chapter before I end stream. And then I have to go make my YouTube video. Yay! But yeah, quick bathroom. Be right back. Let's finish this chapter. We're almost done.
That is what I feared, Zane had said. No, I will not. How could... No, I will not. How... Not. How could she have been so foolish? Now she could see herself in Annis, too young by half, asking a favor she could not understand. But no, there was a difference. There was a difference. My parents had turned my life to something scarce. My parents had turned my life. Your mother... There was a difference. My parents had turned my life to something scarcely worth living. Your mother tends to something scarcely worth... Something scarcely worth living. Your mother tends to your every need and has raised you to be no fool besides. We are nothing alike. We are... We are nothing alike. We are more alike than you know, hissed Annis. If I do not... A shout cut her off. A shout. Than you know, hissed Annis. If I do not... A shout cut her off. Both their heads snapped towards the sound. Near the front of the caravan, Lauren saw a bustle of sudden activity. Lauren saw a bustle of... A bustle of sudden activity. Bustle of sudden... Of sudden activity. Lauren saw a bustle of... Caravan. Lauren saw a bustle of sudden activity. What is that? She murmured. An alarm, said Annis. They have spotted someone on the road. They jumped to their feet and... Someone on the road. They... Spotted someone on the road. They jumped to their feet and ran. It took them only a moment to reach the front of the caravan, where Damaris stood with Gregor looming beside her. With Gregor looming. Damaris stood with Gregor looming beside her, blocking his lady from the road. Mother, what... His lady from the road. Mother, what is it? beside her, blocking his lady from the road. "Mother, what is it?" cried Annis. Struck by a thought, Lauren looked for the purse of coins. Cried Annis. "Is it?" cried Annis. Struck by a thought, Lauren looked for the purse of coins, but it had vanished. "Riders." Coins, but it had vanished. "Riders," said Damaris. "Several of them, and led by a constable. And led by and led by a and led by a and
Yeah,
Are you on stream?
I am.
Okay. I have to get some things ready before the dude comes.
Kiss.
And then I gotta go pick up the kids.
Okay.
I'm so weirdly tired.
several of them, and led by a constable.
Say hi to everybody too. Hi, Erica.
Eric and Bodegazilla this time.
Hey, Bode. I miss you guys.
Love you, baby.
I'm tired. Love you too.
A constable.
Mead from last
Lauren
night.
quailed. "Is it?" She could not finish. "One from yesterday? I cannot tell." "One from yesterday?" She could not finish. "One from yesterday? I cannot tell, but we should not take any chances. Lauren, come with me, quickly." Demand. "Lauren, come with me, quickly." Damaris hurried down the line of caravans. "You remember the line of caravans. You down the line of caravans. You remember the compartment set in the floor of the wagons? She said. "Yes," panted Lauren, breathless from fear. "I can hide there." Not the same. "I can hide there." Not the same one. Here. Damaris. Same one. Here. Damaris. Here. Damaris stopped at the fourth wagon in the line. Lauren vaulted into the back, squinting as her eyes adjusted to the darkness. Now that she adjusted to the darkness. Now that she knew what to look for, she spotted the edges of the panel easily. Her the panel easily. Her fingers found the crack and she heaved it upward. The compartment held no brown upward. The compartment heaved it upward. The compartment held no brown cloth packages, leaving her plenty of room to lie down. Grateful, she slid into the floor and pulled the panel back over herself. It took It took forever before she heard the hooves upon the road. They grew louder and louder before pulling to a stop nearby. Who approaches? Nearby. Who approaches? Gregor's booming voice shook the wagon floor. So this is a new voice. Hey, what's up, Bodega Zeller? The king's servants, about his business. Is that the constable's thin, wheedling voice? The king's servants, about his business. Lauren did not recognize the voice as either
Channeling just a little bit of Skeletor here. The king's servants! Ah!
Gregor's booming
And he prays!
voice shook the wagon floor. The king's servants, about his business. Lauren did not recognize the voice as either Corin... Oh, fuck's sake, this microphone. If you could just... Lauren did not recognize... The king's servants, about his business. Lauren did not recognize the voice as either Corin or Byrne. Yet they might still be here, she reminded herself. The road seems... here, she reminded herself. The road seems... she reminded herself. The road seems fairly thick with constables, came Damaris's clear voice. Two visited... came Damaris's clear voice. Two visited us only yesterday. The same who sent... only yesterday. The same who sent us, came the new voice. They seek a man and a girl, and said they saw the girl near your caravan. They told us... near your caravan. They told us the same, said Damaris, but we told them we had seen nothing. I have heard that...
And he prays!
had seen nothing. I have heard the tale, but then I questioned them closely, for many merchants upon the road carry goods that give the king great... The road carry goods that... On the road carry goods that give... On the road carry goods that give... carry goods. Road carry. Road carry goods that give the goods that give the goods that give the king great
displeasure.
For many merchants upon the road carry goods that give the king great displeasure. To hide them, such merchants might have panels and holes within their wagons. I asked my
Thanks for the follow, Backwoods Chick. Much appreciated.
holes within their wagons. I asked my brother constables if they had searched for such concealment, and they said they had not. They sent me to see if such might be found. Lawrence be found. Lauren's throat went bone dry. Silence lingered outside the wagon. Silence. Found. Lauren's throat went bone dry. Silence lingered outside the wagon. Outside the wagon. The man outside the wagon. The man spoke again at last. What? Spoke again at last. Outside the wagon. The man spoke again at last. What say you, my lady? Must my agents break your wagons apart, plank by plank? Damaris hesitated only. Plank by plank? Damaris hesitated only a moment before answering. There is only a moment before answering. There is no need. The girl hides within that one. Come, and I hides within that one. Come, and I will take you to her. Dun dun dun. You to her.
Okay. Tomorrow we pick back up with Chapter 11.
I am going to get through the rest of this guy's lines so I don't have to remember. Chapter 11. Chapter 11.
Woof. Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. All right, gotta go make YouTube. Who are we gonna raid this time? Ah, Kerrigan appears to be streaming. So we're going to toss a raid over to Kid Kerrigan, who appears to be playing Heroes of the Storm. And she will kill many heroes in the storm. And we will say hi and hope she is having a great day. So, peace out, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out for my wild, crazy stream. And I will catch you next time. Say hi to Kid Kerrigan for me. Bye!